Be doing another tier list for Operation Dread Factor, and today we are ranking all the attackers up to Fenrir. I mean, Fenrir is a defender, so he's obviously not going to be on the list, but we're doing all the attackers. Let's get to it. Sledge! S tier. I mean, Sledge is amazing. Sledge is amazing. There's nothing else to say. I mean, he is the 3 armor, which kind of sucks, but amazing gun. You have stop destruction all day, and you have grenades. I mean, grenades are going to be like A, S tier no matter what. Unless you're Glaz, which we'll talk about now. Glaz, I do think that he was going to shift down to C tier. Grenades bring him up, but his gun is horrible. And honestly, Glaz is kind of throwing it. C tier is goddamn generous. In fact, I'm placing him lower because there's so many grenade options that, like, you don't need Glaz's grenades. His gun is nice, and sometimes you can make a Glaz play, but overall, on a normal pick on any map, like, Glaz is going to be something you don't normally shift to. Whenever you pick Glaz, you're going to hear someone say, why do we have a Glaz? So that's why he's going to be there. Thatcher. I want to put Thatcher A tier, but for a ranked list, I do think Thatcher is S because it just makes it so much easier to deal with everything. Yeah, Sledge is 3 armor, CJ. You didn't know that? That's funny. Thatcher S tier, I mean, it makes it so much easier to deal with the walls. I mean, and you can, like, you know, mess with the ADSs or any type of utility that you run into. So, boom. Especially with the new op coming out, those EMPs are going to be kind of nice. Want me to do Blitz? Blitz S tier? Obviously, Blitz is S. No, not S tier. Blitz is, I think, above Glaz, but not by much. In fact, Blitz is close to the same level as Glaz. Like, he has that shock factor. Like, it kind of works like one time per game on certain maps, like Glaz. But I think Blitz works more effectively. But I'm gonna put Blitz next to Glaz because it's kind of like a, when you have a Blitz, someone is gonna hit you with the why are you bringing Blitz? What are you doing? Because then the other shielding option is going to be Montaigne, and I think Montaigne goes up a little bit to the C tier because I think Montaigne has a little bit more versatility on almost any other map. So when I think Blitz, I'm thinking Oregon specifically. But, like, Montaigne can be used in a lot of different scenarios. Like, pushing clubhouse rafters is always nice. And you're going to have a hard reach charge. So, boom. Thermite. I think Thermite for a ranked setting is going to be at A tier. Normally, you're only going to be able to get the outside wall as Therm. Any other wall that you need to get or hatches, there's going to be better or other options to grab. So, I think Therm's too good, but, like, I'm only going to bring him if I know I can get it, if I get in an outside wall, and that's all I really have to breach that round. Let's do all the hard breaches really quick. You have Hibana. Hibana's an S tier. Hibana's probably arguably the best hard breacher in the game. Even if they impact trick you, like trying to open up a wall or a hatch, you are going to keep having pellets. You just keep knocking them out. If you keep shooting them in stacks of 2. And her guns are good. Her guns are solid. And she's a 3-speed and has flashbangs. I mean, she's kind of functions like a entry after you're done getting the wall or whatever, or the hatches, etc. But yeah, Ace. I'm gonna put Ace next to Hibana because Ace is like the easy to use Hibana. And his gun, I would argue, is a quite bit better with 30 bullets. The AK is nuts. It's not as strong as it used to be, but it's still really, really, really strong. And its hard breaches are really easy to use. So when you think hard breaching in ranks, you're usually picking one of these 2 operators. Thermite for other situations, like when you're opening a wall from the outside. All right, and then I want to talk about Grim, because Grim is like would be here normally, but Grim did get buffed. You're gonna have a hard breach charge. His gadget is actually, it's pretty good. The radius got bigger. It lasts twice as long. I think Grim is going to sit more towards the C tier now because you can kind of function as like entry / hard breach, like on maps where you like, hey, we just need an operator to open up hatches. Let's say Grim is an option. I mean, you can run Ying, you can run Zero. There's a lot of other options, but Grim is an option for a 3-speed with a commando. His utility can be used effectively, and you can open hatches. So I think Grim's going to be okay. I don't think he's a throw pick anymore, but I don't think that he's super powerful. Ashe, one of the best entries in the game. I'm going to put Ashe at A tier, but her utility overall is fairly mediocre. When you pick Ashe, you're picking speed, you're picking G36, and you're picking that stop destruction, like just bang ability. So you got the Twitch. Twitch, I think, is going to shift between A and B tier. I'm going to place Twitch at the D tier because this is a ranked tier list. And any operator that you are on cameras for a little bit too long, you may find that your teammates are pushing without you, and you're going to be left in 1vx situations occasionally. So that does bring it down a little bit, but and her F2 is, at least for me, is honestly horrible. So when I think Twitch, I'm thinking DMR with her drones. So Twitch isn't bad, but she definitely falls a little bit short now in my eyes. Then you have Brava. I think her drone is worse than Twitch, but her overall kit is better than Twitch's. So I want to shift her between A and B, but I'm going to place her at B because there's a lot of times there's just not that many things for Brava to take. If you know they're running Brava, then you stop bringing utility that Brava can even take, and then you're like, what am I doing? But you have a good gun, you have a super shorty, and you know, got clays or whatever. I think Brava's pretty good, but I don't feel like that she's overall way better than Twitch. I feel like they're just very similar in the way that they work, with having strengths and weaknesses over each other. Got Fuse. Fuse is an op that shifts to about C tier. His utility is good. You're probably not going to get a lot of kills with his Fuse charge, but you are going to at least be able to make defenders run around, or you might be able to get whatever, like, you know, all the utility on site. So Fuse is okay, like he's not bad, and he has a good gun like Ace. So you are a 3 armor, and you do make a lot of noise. You do have to be really wary of the roamers and getting flanked. F2 on console is garbage. F2 on PC is worse. So if it's garbage on console, it's horrible now. IQ, in my eyes, IQ shifts at D tier. IQ only really only shines when it's like, well, you're in a 5 stack, and like there's a very specific reason you brought an IQ to find a certain like like a K claw, or like, you know, helping find like, you know, Capkin traps, etc. But overall, I feel like Grim between IQ, I feel like Grim has a lot more going on for him than IQ does. And if you're just looking for a 3-speed with a commando, Grim already fits that role. IQ's ability, her ability just is fairly mid in a ranked setting. I think her ability is fairly mid in a comp setting as well, but it is. Buck is an easy A or S tier. I'm gonna put Buck at the S tier because I just feel like his gun is great. He has heartbeat charges. He has a shotgun that's really strong, and he has, you know, there's nothing really wrong with Buck. He does a lot. The only thing I don't like about him is his gun is a little bouncy sometimes, but if you learn how to play it, it's more than fine. And you're gonna have so many tools to just get into the site. Capitao is I'm placing Capitao at B tier. Heartbeat charge. Capitao is a Swiss Army knife. He is good gun. He has a Gon 6 to destroy a shield or whatever. He has fires and smokes. He has a lot going on, but I feel like he's not super great at anything specifically. But I mean, he has hard breach. He has a Gon 6. He has smokes, and he has fire. He has so many little tools to work with that, like, he can be used in almost any situation. He's just not the best option for every situation. Blackbeard, I think Blackbeard is an easy S tier. His shield keeps you from getting shot. I'm kidding. Blackbeard's horrible, bro. The only thing that's good about Blackbeard is that it doesn't let you one-shot someone in the head, but you are so slow. It sticks out so far. Oftentimes you're going to get shot in the head anyways. Like, the gun is just horrible. Like, I don't know. I just feel like Blackbeard sits so far down of, why do we even bring, like, you're throwing if you bring Blackbeard. Like, I just don't bring Blackbeard. You're so much better off bringing literally anything else. Yeah, play with us. Yeah, I thought people might believe that. That's why I did that. You got the Jackal. Jackal helps a lot with the roam clear. I do want to. I think that like he's just not quite here. I feel like he needs to be at A tier with the Doke. The roam clear. Let's talk about them together. Jackal has an amazing gun, PDW, and he also has the other gun that's a little bit nerfed, but PDW with a secondary shotgun. Being able to full roam clear the entire map. Jackal is just a little bit weaker towards the end of the round, but he is gonna have smokes to compensate with that. So being able to clear a map makes it really easy with Jackal. Doke, kind of same situation, but you don't necessarily have to find their feet. You can, I mean, you just activate it. And Doke is a little bit stronger, I think, in the late round, because if you hit that camera, hit their phones late round, pushing into like an area of or a site or whatever is going to be a little bit easier, knowing exactly where they're at without having to join anyone. So one downside to Doke though is that you are forced to use a DMR, and a lot of people find that a little iffy, and that DMR is not super friendly. You can learn how to use it, but it's not as friendly as a gun like the PDW. Ying, I feel like Ying sits at A tier as well. Ying, it functions pretty good as like a entry / late round. I mean, starts the execute. You have a hard breach charge. I mean, Ying can do a lot, and her gun is actually pretty goddamn solid. So I don't know. I think Ying sits pretty safely at A tier. I could make an argument that she could be B tier, but in my eyes, I see Ying being an A tier operator. The DMR on Doke is not bad by any means. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying compared to an AR in a one-shot headshot game, it is a little bit weaker than an AR would be. But it's still a solid gun. Don't get me wrong. Not knocking her too much because of DMR. Zofia is an op that like just sits kind of mid. Like I tried playing her earlier today too, and she just feels very mid. She's definitely not S tier for sure, but how far down does she go? I just, the 3 armor on an entry just makes her feel very mediocre. You do have 2 concussion, which helps you clear out a room very easily, and you have 2 impacts if you need them. You have claymores or you have breaching charges. I mean, I feel like she'll sit safely, not quite here, but more at B tier. Her gun is solid. Everything about her is good, but she's on an entry role as a 3 armor, and it hurts. I mean, Sledge is too, but the way that Sledge works is a little bit different, and he has grenades. She's not C tier. She does not belong with that. Finka is shifting more towards this range. I cannot put Finka over D tier. In fact, I'm hovering E tier, but those heals are pretty nice in certain situations. Her gun is very tough to use effectively, but those heals are kind of nice to have sometimes. But I definitely not over D tier. Maverick, especially in a ranked scenario, I'm placing Mav at the D tier in terms of situationally. He's not going to be picked very often. You're putting yourself into danger. You have to have a lot of skill and know how to use Mav effectively without getting killed. So Mav does take a lot, is probably one of the hardest ops in the game to learn how to use properly. And his guns are okay. And his ability is like, yeah, it's good, but there's so many ops that have EMP impacts with hard breachers. Like, there's a lot of other options you can do other than having to use Maverick, especially in the current meta. Nomad, I think Nomad sits very safely around here. I'm going to place Nomad at the A tier because her air jabs are pretty good for watching flanks, but the best thing about her is, remember how Iana is a really strong operator with that ARX with a 1.5 scope? Oh wait, it got nerfed, but guess what? Nomad has the exact same gun that's not nerfed, so she's staying at the A tier. But speaking of Iana, that's an easy S tier. Iana is by far the best entry in the game with the grenades, with the G3. You have the clone just to kind of more intel gathering before you swing, and did I mention grenades? Then we got the Nokk. Nokk is an operator that I want to place at S tier, but I'm shifting towards A a little bit. But I'm going to put her at lower S tier Purely the only reason why is because her gun is a little bit mid. But her ability is really strong in the current meta. The ability to crouch walk, sneak up to somebody with no intel can be gathered on you. And you have grenades. The only problem is her gun is a little... But there's a lot of players that are really good with that gun. So I do think that Nokk is really easy. Every time I play Nokk, it's really easy to find that, at least that first initial kill. So I do think that she's strong, but I'm lower tier to S in my eyes. Lion, I think, sits at B tier. His gun is amazing. He has EMP impacts, and his ability is really strong when you are pushing a certain, when you're pushing somebody or anyone is pushing anybody, because it forces everybody to have to sit still or you get scanned. So, and it is hard to move when that scan is going out because you know that it's gonna mark you. So it does make you shift around a lot less. Her AK is not bad either, but I do think her AK just has that putting down potential. The stopping power is just a little bit lower. So that's why I like the ARX on that a little bit more. Gridlock, I feel like it's just an inferior version of Nomad, so she is going to shift a little bit lower. Her traps are really easy to use, but like I said, it's just an inferior version of Nomad, and you are a 3 armor. Her guns are pretty solid though, so I'm gonna place Nomad kind of around this range. She's not bad for the flank watch, but Nomad exists and just functions better. Kali, again, situationally can be really strong. Her gun is really nice. Your utility can be used, destroy shields, clear the wall, etc. Like, Kali can get some use, but you are stuck in a very singular playstyle. You're not very adaptive. So I'm going to place Kali at D tier. You can be really good at Kali, but she doesn't shine as an operator. Amaru, I'm going to place at the C tier. Weaponry is really strong, but the way that Amaru's playstyle functions is forcing you to play very, very aggressive. And there's only a couple situations where Amaru actually makes sense. Unless you just pick an Amaru for a gun, which, I mean, I get it. But she also has a hard breach charge though, so that does help her out a little bit. It makes me want to shift her up slightly in terms of how I think about Amaru. I think about her in this range, but I'm going to shift her up a little bit more because I do see Amaru plays like winning rounds and winning games. So I think when it is used effectively, it can be really strong. So I'll place her up a tier. And that Supernova Shotgun is kind of nuts. Zero, I'm going to place around here. Zero is... I know I said Swiss Army knife with Capitao, but Zero is actually a Swiss Army knife with everything he has. He's a hard breach charge. He has cameras all day for flank watch. He has a Gon 6, and he has a pretty good gun. So Zero can basically do whatever you need him to do in the round. Whatever you need Zero to do, he can do it. Either on his own or with a teammate. So I don't think that anything about Zero really stands out as, wow, Zero is OP, Zero is busted. Nothing like that really stands out for me, but he is a very solid middle-of-the-road operator. That's why, and he's very easy to play in solo queue because you're going to have so much intel and gathering. So, E tier. Flores S tier. Able to destroy so much enemy utility, and his guns are very solid. You have flashbangs when you actually decide to make a push. The only downside to Flores is that you are forced to be on a camera for quite a bit of time. So if you are playing with aggressive players, sometimes you are going to find yourself in like a 3v5 before you're finished with your camera. So you do have to be mindful of how much time is going by and how fast people are pushing. Remember, you don't have to use all 4 cameras before you move. You do only have to use like maybe like 2 or 3. Don't feel like you have to use all 4 before you make a move. Sens, that's an E tier easily. I think about Sens, and I can only think of really one play that really works kind of well, and that's Chalet throwing it through the drone hole for a kitchen take. Every other site on every other map, I think you're better off having either a Ying going for like a Glaz or a smoke play. I mean, I just think Sens sits very, very low. Because not only does Sens smokes, I mean, Sens is, I mean, doesn't really do anything super special. The smokes themselves are the weakest smokes in the game. Because, I mean, you can impact or nitro the smokes and then they're completely gone. I think they should buff Sens in a way that, like, you can't explode their Sens's smoke. Like, it's there. Like, and, you know, it exists. So, like, if I throw a smoke grenade, you can't impact my smoke grenade. But with Sens, you can. It'll go away instantly. So, you can, like, wait for them to be a little aggressive in the smoke. Impact or nitro the smoke, and then you can just see everybody fine. That's the one thing I hate about it. I hate the mechanic a lot. They have Osa. Osa, I think, shifts between A and B tier. I'm going to place Osa at the A tier because I know Osa can just win you games a little bit more. So her guns are good, PDW or the 5.56 like Thermite. You have smokes and you have the shields that you can just basically lock down an area, and they really hard to clear an Osa on her shields. You're gonna have to throw impacts or explosives at her dead on while she has her gun looking directly at you. I think that is it for attackers, I believe. Unless I'm confused. Yep, that is it. Do you guys have anyone you want me to move up or down? Like, if you take, like, let's say an operator like Thermite and you think, hey, I should be S or A, S or B tier, that's only a 1 tier difference. So you mostly agree with my same rationale. But if you have any operators you see on this list that you're like, hey, I want to move Thermite, I want to move him to D tier, let me know in the comments, because this is going on YouTube. Smoke S tier. This is an attacker tier list. Go bring Doke. I have a mute jammer in the pocket. Yeah, that's having a mute jammer, like, for like a roamer or, like, you know, just in like little areas where defenders are going to stand is nice when someone brings a Doke, 'cause, you know, it basically cancels her out completely. Is there a world where Zero is the same tier as Twitch? Well, Zero doesn't do anything great. He doesn't do anything special. He's really good at a lot, which is why people love him in solo play. I did mention that. He's really, like, in terms of a solo queue tier list, he's going to shift between A and S tier. But as an overall operator where you're, like, kind of, like, you know, I'm expecting at least a little bit of coordination. Zero doesn't do anything that is better than any other operator. He doesn't do anything special. You have cameras. We all have drones. He has hard breach charges. There's a lot of operators with hard breach charges. He's a Gon 6, always nice. His guns are pretty good, but there's nothing in his kit that's like, you have to bring Zero here. You need to play Zero. There's nothing in his kit that screams that he needs to be brought. He's a good solo player, which I agree with you on that, but as an overall operator in terms of a little bit of team coordination, I do feel like he does lack a little bit, but there are some maps where he definitely shines, and those are like the maps like Bank, where you can place his cameras in like a lobby where you can't really see his cameras at all, and they don't know they're being watched. Those are the very specific situation where I love Zero. But in terms of solo queue play, I do agree with you that he is a fun solo queue player, because you can, anything that is like in your way, you have the tools to get by it. You don't have the best tools to get by it, but you do have tools to get through it and by it. I'm sure this is gonna be a big topic on my tier list, because I do talk about Zero all the time. When people are like, hey, you play Zero, blah 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 blah, I'm like, wait for the solo queue tier list, which is coming soon. Again, guys, make sure to subscribe, drop a comment, and leave a like down below for more. Until next time.